The rain was relentless as Daniel finally saw the hotel sign through the gloom. The road had vanished into the fog miles back, and the GPS had given up the ghosts long before that. He was exhausted. 3 days without sleep, haunted by the hollow ache, left by his father's funeral. The Hotel Belmer looked like a relic, frozen in a time long past its old facade weathered, a neon sign flickering erratically against the damp carpeted entrance. The receptionist, a man with a pallid face and a smile that seemed practiced to perfection, offered no warmth, just a simple statement. "Last room available. 209. Daniel accepted the old-fashioned metal key. As the elevator creaked its way upward, a strange electric hiss echoed through the shaft, almost as if the ancient building were drawing a slow, rattling breath. The hallway was even more decrepit. The wallpaper peeled away at the edges like sunborn skin. Room 209 was at the very end, on the left. The doorknob was unnervingly cold, like ice against his tired palm. He pushed the door open and stepped inside. Silence. A thick, cloying smell of mildew and stale perfume hung in the air. The room was sparse. A neatly made bed, a single chair facing the window, and an oval mirror with a gilded gold frame positioned directly across from the bed. He dropped his suitcase with a thud, sank onto the edge of the bed, and just stared at his own reflection. He couldn't articulate why, but an eerie sense of déjà vu washed over him. Felt like A.D.? Been here before? The lamp on the nightstand flickered, casting shadows that writhed and danced on the walls, seeming to move in sync with the rhythm of his own breathing. The room itself felt alive. Later, in the dead of night, a sharp sound jolted him awake, a metallic clang, a door slamming shut somewhere nearby. He squinted at the clock on his phone, 3:09 a.m. Then he heard footsteps, coming from the other side of the wall, but that was impossible. The receptionist had been clear. All the other rooms were empty. Daniel swung his legs out of bed, his heart beginning to pound, and crept out into the hallway. Absolute, unnerving silence. The only sound was the distant, muffled drumming of the rain. But then, a sliver of light appeared from under the door of room 208. It turned on by itself, and for one terrifying, heart-stopping second, Daniel saw a figure in a silhouette standing at the window, its back turned to him. As he watched, paralyzed, the figure slowly turned its head, and his blood ran cold. It was him. But older. His hair was streaked with gray, his face etched with lines of sorrow, but the eyes, they were his eyes. His own heart hammered against his ribs. He blinked hard, and just like that, the light in 208 went out, plunging the hallway back into darkness. He sprinted to the door, his hand fumbling for the knob. It was locked. He knocked, first gently, then with rising panic. Nothing. Trembling, he retreated to his own room. He glanced at the mirror and a choked gasp escaped his lips. His reflection stared back, its face smeared and wet with blood. But when he touched his own cheeks, they were clean. He stumbled into the bathroom, splashing cold water on his face, his hands shaking. The water ran clear in the basin. He dared to look up at the bathroom mirror, and his reflection in 209 whispered, its voice a dry rustle of leaves, "You're back." Daniel scrambled backward, falling to the floor. Behind him, the oval mirror in the bedroom began to vibrate, its surface rippling like water, and within its reflection, he saw room 209 again, but twisted. Nightmarish, the curtains were shredded. The bed was a charred wreck, and dark, desperate handprints stained the walls. And there, sitting on the burnt mattress, was the older man, his doppelganger, weeping silently. The man looked up, his voice filled with despair. "I shouldn't have come back. Daniel." "Who are you?" Daniel stammered from the floor. "I am you," the reflection rasped, "when you finally stop running." The sound of the rain outside began to mix with the crackle of radio static, and through it, the receptionist's smooth voice echoed from somewhere down the hall. "Miss Daniel, is everything all right in room 209? He scrambled to the door. Yanking on the handle, it was locked from the inside. He shouted for help, kicking and punching the solid wood, but it wouldn't budge. Behind him, the mirror began to crack, the fissures spreading from the inside out. His reflection in the mirror was screaming, a silent, agonizing wail. The cracks spiderwebbed across the glass, forming a number. 209. Daniel recoiled in horror, and then the impossible happened. The reflection pushed itself out from the mirror, peeling away from the glass like a living shadow. Suddenly, there were two Daniels in the room, one young and breathless with terror, one old and utterly broken. "You never left here," the old man said, his voice hollow. "This is a dream. A nightmare." Daniel yelled. "It's a memory," the old man corrected softly. He walked to the window and pulled back the curtains. Outside wasn't the rainy night. It was the same room, the same hotel, repeated infinitely, all of it shrouded in a thick, swirling fog. And down below, in a courtyard that shouldn't exist, were dozens of Daniel Ziraveng, leaving, dying, and being reborn in a sickening loop. "Every time you try to run from the guilt," the old man explained, "you come back here?" "Guilt for what?" Daniel cried out. The old man turned, his eyes piercing him with an ancient sorrow. "For that night, for the accident, for the scream you ignored." And then the memories hit Daniel like an avalanche. The screech of tires, the violent jolt of the car overturning, his father trapped in the twisted metal. And him, Daniel, scrambling out, running in pure, selfish panic, never looking back. The mirror flared with a blinding light, showing the car, now engulfed in flames. And inside, his father, his face illuminated by the fire, calling his name. Daniel collapsed to his knees, a raw sob tearing from his throat. "I couldn't save him." "You didn't try," the old man stated, his words a final, damning judgment. The mirror cracked completely, shattering into 1,000 pieces. On the other side was not a reflection, but the fire itself, roaring and hungry. The old man extended a hand. "Come in. Finish what you started." Daniel, his face wet, with tears of grief and shame, stood up. He walked toward the mirror, toward the inferno. He stepped through. The fire engulfed him, and his final scream echoed through the room until it was swallowed by silence. The next morning, the receptionist made his rounds. Room 209 was empty, the bed untouched. But above it, hanging on the wall, was a new, gleaming oval mirror, and trapped within its flawless surface, a reflection of Daniel stood, watching, waiting. As the camera pulls back, we see the deserted hallway. The light in room 209 flickers and goes out, and on the door, the brass numbers slowly, impossibly, change from 209 to 210. If this story gave you chills until the end, imagine what comes next. Like the video, share it with those who love good psychological horror, and subscribe to the channel to discover what really happens when you enter places where time doesn't pass. It just repeats.